In this video, I'm going to show you how I pulled together my super basic awning for the back of my truck.
If you've followed my channel for any length of time, you've certainly seen my DIY awning that I had built onto the side and then the back of my Subaru Forester. Now that I've moved to the Nissan Frontier with a contractor canopy on the back, I've been trying to figure out a way to have some quick and easy shelter over my doorway and kitchen. My kitchen pulls out of the back of the truck here, but there isn't really a good way to mount a conventional awning on the back of this canopy. And even on the side, it might be possible to mount something, but an awning going out that way isn't super helpful to me. And I don't think I'm ready for a big 270 thing mounted up on the canopy there somehow. So I ended up sort of moving back towards my initial DIY awning that I had on the Forester. But this version is even more simple because I don't even have outriggers that pull out. It just attaches to components of my roof rack. Got a couple of 5-foot bungee cords. I attach these to my roof rack, and that length allows me to hook up to the tarp all the way back here. This is the exact same tarp that I bought, I don't know, a couple of years ago in order to make my DIY awning. I had to add extra grommets to the awning so that it would pull tight properly when I pull the stakes out.
I added 2 new grommets to the tarp that are the same distance apart as the points on my roof rack where I'm attaching the bungee cords.
Using the original corners of the tarp, it would not pull neatly out across the back of the truck.
With the grommets right in line with where the bungees mount, the tarp will pull neatly and tightly out towards the wider original corners where the poles are. I'm sure this would also work just fine if you simply added some kind of hooks or mounting points near the rear of your canopy. I considered that solution, but for now I'm trying to avoid drilling holes in my brand new canopy, so I've opted for these bungees instead.
The stakes for this awning I actually salvaged from a standard style awning that I also used to have on the Forester. I also used this aluminum channel that was part of that old awning to create a spot to carry those legs.
I realize most of you probably don't have a cheap old awning you can take apart, but you can easily find telescoping tent poles on Amazon. To set up the awning, I hook up the tarp to the bungee cords. I've since realized this is much easier to do with the canopy doors closed. Then, I simply stake out the poles using guy lines. My always helpful son stepped in here and held the pole, but I can set this up by myself with no issue at all.
With something expensive.
I don't know. 1.5 minutes to set it up.
That is. And what do you do with these ends?
I thought about cutting the tarp off here and then stitching this edge, but I don't know how to sew and I don't have a sewing machine, so I've just left these on here for now. I may actually come up with a way to bungee them down so they sort of create this little extra side shelter right here where it's at its narrowest. It may actually help protect from rain blowing in sideways. So I don't know, but for the moment what I've got is something that's pretty fast and easy to set up and didn't cost me anything because it was all stuff that I had. I made these little extra feet out of some angle aluminum so that I can put a stake down through there and keep the legs from lifting up when it's windy.
Taking it down when it's time to break camp is also fast and easy. Just pull up the guy lines, collapse the poles, remove the bungee cords, and put everything away.
One of the hassles I've always had with this tarp is putting it away after I take it down off of the car. It takes very, very precise folding to get it back into its stuff sack. And it occurred to me, why am I even bothering with that? So I'm transporting it in this little basket. I can just stuff it down in there. If it's wet, it can actually dry a little bit while I'm driving. And I've got room for my mallet and my stakes and the bungee cords. Boom, done.
If you don't already have a grommet kit, this will be another small expense, but it's a useful thing to have around. I've had this kit for at least 20 years. You generally want to reinforce the grommet point with some extra material. I noticed that the existing grommets on my tarp had an extra layer of tarp material as well as a piece of nylon webbing. So I replicated that with some pieces of nylon webbing I cut off the end of one of these Harbor Freight cargo straps, like I used to keep my fridge in place. Use the punch provided with the tarp kit or scissors to cut a hole in each piece of material. The hole should be just big enough to allow the taller half of the grommet to fit through. Place the curved outer face of the taller grommet half down into the indented area of the flat round anvil that came with the kit. Fit all your pieces of material over the grommet and then add the short half of the grommet on top, spiky side down. Place the mandrel down onto the grommet and hammer it down. I've only had to do this on a handful of projects over the years, so I'm no expert on setting grommets. This has always worked fine for me, but there may be tips and tricks that I'm missing. Feel free to add your suggestions in the comments below.
So for the grand total of basically $0, since this was all stuff that I had, I'm really, really happy with how this turned out. I've got my kitchen covered. I've got my access to the canopy covered. And there's even space to sit under here on a rainy day. This exact setup may not work for your canopy or for your truck, but hopefully this is helpful in just giving you some ideas for some ways you can adapt stuff that you have to create an inexpensive shelter for yourself, especially if you don't have a good way to mount a conventional awning. Thanks for watching.
On my channel, you will find more budget DIY ideas for camping and vehicle mods, camping-related product reviews, and many, many adventures where I actually put all this stuff to use.